welcome back to Boys and Ghouls Film Review. I'm your host, Sarah Stephenson, and this is my co-host, Mike Stephenson.
Hi everybody.
So Mike, what are we reviewing today?
Well folks, we've got an interesting one. I like it. It's interesting. Not the greatest, but we'll see. It's called Velvet Buzzsaw. It was done in 2019, reasonably new for us. It's an American satirical horror film. Now, I like these type because it's written and directed by the same person. So the writer had a vision, and he obviously hoped to capture it when he directed it. So the man responsible for this is Dan Gilroy. Now, it was made for a budget of 21 mil. This did not go. I think it had a limited release in cinemas, but it pretty much went to Netflix.
Yeah.
It did go. It was in the Sundance Film Festival in 2019.
Yeah, bear in mind, Sundance Film Festival is probably the most.
I like Sundance.
A lot of people have issued their films there, and most of them have come off really in good places.
I think it's one of the better ones. Yeah, and we hope to go there too with our one. That's Sarah's one that she's making in post production now.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, now irrespective. Now I won't go through all the cast, but some of the main ones that stick out is Jake Gyllenhaal plays Mort Vanderwalt. What a great name. Rene Russo plays Redora Hayes. There's a slew of other actors in there, but one stands out. John Malkovich plays a sort of a burnt-out artist who needs to recharge his batteries and get his artistic flair back again. His part could have been built up a bit better, but I don't know whether he took the role because he had nothing better to do at the time. I think they could have used him better. But anyway, do you want to take over and talk about the plot, Sarah?
Yeah, before we can do that, the interesting thing about the characters is that the director says that he's a big fan of Charles Dickens, so he loves characters' names that are a longer, unwilling thing and a bit weird. In other words, that's why the movie is full of characters with names that like Morph, Coco, and all the others. Josephina is pretty much a okay.
Well, it's a nice name, but
everyone knows that type of name.
Morph Vanderwalt, and you got Redora Hayes, and you've got Coco, and you've got...
I heard of Coco Chanel in the fashion world, but never being used in the real world.
Well, there you go then, folks. Coco Chanel.
Well, it's a fashion designer's name, as I recall.
Arty Farty. No. Who said that? Oh,
you did.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so, I'll break into the story itself. Again, I haven't said this before, but I have done a bit of review on this movie in Phantasmagorical magazine, and I was hoping, after watching it again last night, I was hoping that I might have missed something, but again, I feel less impressed by the story itself more than ever. I don't like to be a troll about it, and I hate to be a troll in this podcast about it.
Sarah and I have got the same sort of gut feeling. I mean, a movie of this nature should have a bit of suspense, getting you on the end of your seat, waiting to see what happens next. I felt like sitting on the end of my bed waiting to go to sleep in some bits of it.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a slow mover. It wasn't a bad movie. Could have been a tad better. Let's roll into it. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. So I'll break it in. So our characters, their plot starts off in a very long pace, like it was a drama, where they deal with their own problems, relationship problems, artistic problems, and business problems, stuff like that.
Yeah, it dragged on.
It dragged on a bit, and it sort of didn't really get into the story until 40 minutes or 10 minutes into it.
30 to 40 minutes before it started getting interesting, and that's a long time for a movie.
According to this movie is like 1 hour and 50 minutes long.
Could have been 20 minutes shorter.
Yeah,
it would have made it a lot better. Sometimes less is more, folks.
Try true, Mike. Try true. So anyway, so a lady named Josephine, who's an art assistant at an art gallery, she comes across a man who's dead at her apartment, and this is where the story starts developing. Or at least to me it does.
Yeah, the dead guy's an artist and had a lot of work but he's trying to get rid of before he passed away.
Yes.
Bad timing, hey.
Yeah, we won't get into that just yet. But they, according to one of the tenants there, or the owners there, he says that his only wish was to destroy all the artwork.
Yeah, he didn't want it to be displayed or passed on to anybody or
given
sold
to any
or,
next of kin,
or
if he
given
had
to
any next of kin.
Goodwill shop or Lifeline or anything else. Or, no, he wanted it
Yeah,
destroyed.
and he had no next of kin, so technically it doesn't belong to anyone. So Josephine, she goes into the apartments and sees all the beautiful, interesting artworks, and some of it does come off a bit depressing and sad.
That was his style. Yeah,
and the
that was
dark,
his style.
there's something dark about it that tells you this person had a very depressing life, a little sad one, right then?
Apparently.
Yes. Yes. So she takes them all back to her apartment, and then her boss later comes by, before her boss comes by, she shows it to her ex-boyfriend Morph.
He's an art critic.
Yeah, and not a really good one. If you thought we were tough, he is tough.
Well, no, he's good, but he can be easily swayed by some people he likes. How's that?
Yes, and he's a bit of what's the word? A pedantic fella when it comes to art.
I would say he's can I say he's up himself? No.
Yeah, I think you can probably can you put it in a nicer or less technical way?
Anal, retentive, and pedantic. How's that?
Yeah, pretty much what I was just saying earlier. So he's a bit of he's all just up himself. I mean,
well, yeah, that's close enough. We're going on to he's full of himself. How's
yes,
that?
full of himself.
He thinks he's wonderful. He's God's gift to the art world.
Yes, he's not a really nice guy. He says nasty things about anyone's artwork.
Yeah, anyone he doesn't like, he'll trash. Anyone he likes, he'll praise. Yeah.
So anyway, he sees the artwork Josephine shows him, and it looks pretty. He thinks it's pretty good, even though I think it looks really creepy.
Well, yeah.
Yes, and then what's her name?
Redora?
Redora sees the stuff and thinks this is an opportunity for them to make it rich.
Like a mozza.
Yes. So they go through the usual red tape stuff, telling people we found this artwork in the
garbage,
trash,
it was discarded,
making a few white lies, if you will.
Yeah.
So
instead of coming from the man's apartment.
so they found it in the trash.
Yeah. They didn't want illegal tides going back to him, so they got total control over it.
Yes. So anyway, they do an art gallery thing, lasts about a couple of scenes, and some people like the artwork. One or two of our artists who are named Piers, and what's his name?
I can't remember the other guy, but Brent, no.
His name was
Buggerlugs. No.
Let me see.
It doesn't matter.
I know. I'm trying to remember his name. It's a little hard to pronounce. As I said before, these names are not like Tim or Tom or Jake.
Was that Bryson?
No, that's not it. He's an artist named
Damrish.
Who's a bit of a street art artist.
Oh, that guy.
Yes.
Yeah. I thought the other guy who was working there who stole some later on.
Yes.
Yeah,
so they kind of get taken in by the artwork, considering that when you
they can see it. They can see they can feel what was going on if the guy actually painted
when you look at an art
images.
piece, some people may see something different, but sometimes you can see so much in an art piece.
You certainly can.
Yes.
Like an inkblot test.
Yes, exactly. So each one of them sense something about it. Anyway, moving on. Bryce, the guy who is moving some of the artwork so they could store it away to selling time or auction time.
Well, I think they're just going to store some of it so people thought there wasn't as much around, so they can bump the prices up of the other items. Because, we've only got 20 or 30 or 40 items here.
Yes.
And then once I sold those, say, we found a few more. It boosts the price up.
Exactly. So Bryce takes him in his truck. Along the way, he stole one from one of the boxes.
Yeah.
And
thinking he'll make a bit of a killing himself.
Yes. And along the way, he's just smoking a cigarette, and somehow the smoke ashes fall onto his shirt, and somehow caught fire.
Yeah, but let's drop back just a couple of seconds. While he's driving down the road with this piece of stolen art laying next to him on the car seat, the image on the painting sort of comes to life and looks at him while he's driving.
Ooh, and we see a ghostly apparition in the
and
back of the car.
And then he drops a cigarette on him, and all of a sudden his T-shirt gets on fire like it's got turpentine all over it or something.
Or maybe it did, because he says like in the beginning of the movie he was an artist too. Or so he claims to be. I'm not sure.
You think he'd wash his T-shirt occasionally, get the turpentine out. You know? But
anyway, he arrives at a gas station
on fire.
And he crashes into it.
He wasn't in a hurry to get his shirt off.
Yeah, so of course, some of the paintwork goes on fire for some gosh knows reason.
How that happened.
Yes, so we can't work that out.
It did. But anyway, he put it out.
Put it out, and he goes into the bathroom. And
he
while
breaks in, it's a deserted garage.
Yes, a deserted garage. And while he's trying to wipe water on his chest to keep it from getting damp, he's very after the burning. He's kind of got wounds all over himself.
He's got burnt
scars
skin.
all over.
So he's putting cold water on it, trying to ease the pain a little bit.
Above the sink, he's washing himself. You see a painting of some monkeys and
playing cards.
No, they were in a garage too, I think.
They're monkeying around in the garage around cars.
Yes, and you see them coming to life
and
in
they
a
turn and look at
CGI way, and they suddenly start approaching him, and then they try to grab him and pull him into the picture.
We don't know. We saw some arms come out and grab him, and then there was a cut to an outside scene, and then all the lights went out.
Yeah,
so we think he got dragged into the picture with the monkeys, but we're not really sure. But that was number one, if not counting the guy who actually owned the picture.
Yes, and the next day, everyone figures he's disappeared, and there's no dead body or anything like that.
And I think he stole the artwork. But
actually, they said that the artwork was stolen from maybe by some homeless people that were sleeping nearby, but they don't know that. They left.
But they didn't report it to the police as anything. That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
They did. No, there's nothing taken out of the the pickup truck he was driving.
On the line.
Yeah, but because they didn't want to know, because that was an illegal stash stop putting aside.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Morph is trying to piece together the artist Deese. That's the name of the artist who did the paintings, and he goes to the old old factory that he used to work at, and he finds out that this artist killed his own abusive father.
And he had a really hard life and stuff, and he went into a nut house and an asylum, if you will.
The sort of things that, like that's the nuts house stuff. It makes me think of the House on Haunted Hill stuff that we talked about.
And actually, part of his treatment probably sounded crazy.
Yeah.
But he was supposed to be cured, and they let him out, and he started painting pictures.
Yes. Yes. So, but Morph is not the only one finding out that this stuff. As it turns out, John Danda, another sort of rival art gallery owner, whatever.
That guy, yes.
He is on the trail of the artist, so he could find out as much about him
John
as...
Dondon. What a great name.
Dondon.
That was played by Tom Sturridge, I think.
Yeah. I heard somewhere that he wasn't too... He thought the script was lame or weird.
It had,
Yeah.
No, say actually, unfortunately, for him, he was number 2.
Yes. So anyway, while he's packing up in his gallery, a detective tells him about what goes on with this artist. He tells him about how he killed his own father, went into a mental institute, and all that stuff. And while he's packing up, one of the art displays comes to life for some reason.
And he's in it.
Yeah, and it's one of those three-dimensional art pieces.
Yeah,
and
wasn't the film projector on or something?
Yeah, it was a special one of those. It looks like something in an attic or something.
Well,
as he walked in, it becomes the walls
start to change.
changing. Like somehow he's boxed in.
And then becomes a real attic.
Yeah, and like all the walls start looking like something really like
a real attic in a real house. And when the other one's instead of a 3-walled display or something.
Yeah, and then this part is the weird part. He notices the light above him is flickering, and for gosh knows reason, he climbs up on the items and tries to fix the light. Why does he do this? We don't know.
He does like flickering lights.
And then a hand grabs him in the middle of the in that
just next
scene
to the light
and starts pulling on his tie.
Anyway,
pretty much hanging him.
He hung him, and he was found there in the morning, just hanging around
by his new assistant of sorts.
So this is Coco. This is a cute little girl who's a secretary type or receptionist.
She's been
lovely girl.
She used to work for
Rodora for a little bit,
just a bit, and then she had to work for him for a bit, and I'll explain the rest to you later.
She worked for Rodora for a few weeks or something or other, and now she just moved over to this guy. And within about one day, her new boss is dead.
Yes.
Now there's something very interesting here.
Yes,
I'm
go
going to
ahead.
say this bit here. There's no scene with the police investigating the guy's death, and all the other deaths through the movie, there was no police. Apart from the guy at the gas station.
Yeah.
Now that guy there, because they went so that was out in the open there, and they had the car crash and whatever, and blah blah blah, and that's the only policeman just doing an accident report.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
All it was.
And it would be interesting if they could have brought in a few policemen, maybe fill out the characters a little bit with a mixture of maybe likely people, suspects.
Anyway, Coco's out of a job.
Yes. Yeah, throughout the story, she ends up losing job after job.
And every time she worked for seems to shuffle off this mortal coil and go to parts unknown.
Yes. Anyway, they the next morning or fade out. They attend his funeral, and most of the people are just there mumbling about how awful the coffin looks.
What a horrible colour. I fancy spending eternity in that thing.
And hearing boring funeral music. And Pierce, his new artist who was going to be showing at his gallery, was there, and he's just he's not too pleased that things are going as it should be. Pierce
certainly damaged his career, isn't it?
Pierce, by the way, is he's one of those artists who he's given up on drinking, but at the same time it made his career. But at the same time, he's going for an artistic block.
So when he was drinking, he had more imagination. When he gave up the booze and probably drugs and whatever, cleaned his act up. It stifled his imagination a bit. So he's going through this dry period.
Yeah, one of those starving artists, they would often go through a drinking or alcohol or drug phase. And I'm not saying all artists should do this, but I'm just saying that this did happen sometimes.
You need some sort of stimulus for creativity, and now whether it's alcohol, drugs, travel, whatever. So you got to do something. You got to feed your brain images and ideas and experiences so you get an imagination. That's why little kids are really good at that when they're drawing pictures and stuff.
True.
It's all new stuff. They draw a tree, they draw this, they draw... And
this is where Pierce gets approached by his friend Rhoda, Rodora, and she tells him that maybe he should go back to try to relax his mind and go someplace without having someone criticizing him.
Yeah, she had a beach house somewhere.
Yes, so he could just sit and do his own thing and doesn't have to
veg out.
Yeah,
watch midday TV,
Yeah, so he can just relax and do something for himself for a change.
Yeah, and just unwind, chill.
And that was the only thing that one character has done that isn't selfish or had a bit of a motive behind.
Yeah, now that's a very good point you raise, because he... And the dark artist, Demrish, wasn't it? Demrish. They were artists. They really appreciated the dead guy's artwork, and they didn't want anything to do with it. They respected it. They thought it was great, but they didn't want anything to do with it because they could feel the emotion of the dead artist somehow or other. Would you agree?
I would agree with you there.
Yeah.
Anyway, so going forward. Yes.
Forward.
So our next victim on this chopping block is this other woman. What's her name? I think her name is, let me see.
That would be
Gretchen, I think her name
Gretchen,
is.
the
She's
lady with the silvery white
she's
hair.
an art advisor to a new client of hers. So she's living out her dreams of telling people what to buy mostly.
Some like what do you call them? They're a procurer, where or an
Procurer,
art manager to buy things for third parties and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah.
she pests or bugs the old gallery she used to work at to display a few Dees paintings at their gallery.
Yeah, try to stimulate some interest to make some
Yes.
money.
Yes, and including a very big round sphere type ball paint
Yeah, it's really
artist
beautiful.
thing,
Oh.
and it has a this is an interesting scene in this movie.
Yeah, it's a bit. Look, imagine a big silver sphere, probably about a metre and a half to 2 metres wide, highly polished stainless steel looking or chrome.
Yeah,
with,
and has
with holes in it, so you put your arm in and get a sensation.
yeah,
How's
a
that?
funny buzz or feeling.
Or feeling or something.
I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
know. I'm not there, so I can't really put my hand in and say
they didn't
otherwise.
explain it totally, but yeah,
Yes.
you get the picture, guys.
Yeah, so after Gretchen's new assistant is Coco, so she's working for her now.
Yeah, so Coco is number 2 job, or number 3 job.
Or whatever. So anyway, Coco goes off home for the night, and which leaves Gretchen alone in the museum.
Art gallery.
So,
Museum.
art
I didn't see dinosaurs' bones there or anything.
Yeah, anyway, she's there alone, and she's alone with the severe types.
The sphere things. Have a look at it. Yeah.
And she puts her hand in.
She's never tried it before.
And just then, something goes wrong. Like something grabs her and starts whatever is inside the device is tearing and making her arm bleed.
And ripped the whole arm off, folks. Really good.
And blood spews everywhere.
Yeah, spraying loads of place. That's great.
Yeah, and she spins around like crazy and then falls down on the ground.
Right next to the sphere.
Yeah, and the next morning...
Oozing blood. Now, oozing a big pile of blood.
Yes.
No.
And next morning, Josephina contacts her boss and tells her about the bad news that Gretchen has been killed or died. And
that surprised me, though.
Yes.
What time did she phone Redora, and what time did that gallery open? Because the next bit is really is a time slip, isn't it?
Yeah, in this scene,
she did that retro, didn't she?
Yes.
They didn't know about it until Coco walked in.
Yes.
That's what it was.
Yes, so anyway, Gretchen was lying dead, and the museum is unaware of what's going on, so they think that Gretchen is just part of the artwork.
Yeah, that was a dummy on the ground of fake blood until the school kids walk in and start walking through it and started
and people probably didn't smell...
blood.
They probably didn't smell her dead body. I don't know how long it usually smells.
Well, no, it wouldn't necessarily smell straight away.
But blood does smell.
A couple of days later, it should be turning green.
Yes.
And it has to be body fluids be coming out.
So,
and it wouldn't be very nice.
So people are wandering around thinking nothing of it until Coco walks in and screams her lungs out.
That's my next boss.
Yes, by new boss.
Out of a job again.
Yes, poor Coco.
No police. For the
Yes.
second time. And Coco was not dragged in and say, where were you on last
Well, technically,
night? Yeah.
she was at both scenes of the crime, and she was the last person to be seen by these people.
Yeah.
So there's nothing connecting with Coco if in the scene. Why is it they're just ignoring?
No police. Well, it's Miami.
Anyway, so we move on, and Josephina is no longer dating Morph at this point because she starts dating another artist.
This Damrich, isn't it?
Yes.
He belongs to a group of artists who
Street artists.
Street artists. Yeah, the people down the bottom of the food chain in the art world, but nevertheless good artists.
They're still great artists.
Oh, yeah.
I happen to have in this very
Room,
studio we have an interesting street art drawing
about 2
here.
metre by 2 metre graffiti. Would you call it?
I would call it street art.
Yeah, but it's street art graffiti type. Yeah,
And I think
great.
it's beautiful, and I still love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I hope when I get my own place, I'll definitely bring it with me to put it in
screw it to the wall.
and not screw it to my wall. Maybe just put it on near my wall.
Oh, something.
Anyway, as I was saying,
Could photocopy it. No,
good point.
it's
So
a bit big.
Morph is freaking out. He's starting to realize that that 3 deaths or 2 deaths and 1 disappearance is starting to look kind of
And his investigations into the dead artist.
Yeah, so he's
starting to twig, isn't he?
Yeah, suddenly he starts seeing things. He even started. He even went to the one of the art. Who was the lady in the white outfit in the scene in the later scene?
Yeah, she's like
Laboratory
look,
artist
well,
person.
when they do restorations and whatever and analyse work to make sure it's real and whatever. I don't know what you call them, art forensic.
I don't know.
Whatever. Those sort of guys.
Yeah, so he visits her and she tells him that the pigment in the paint that it is a mixture of blood being in it.
Yeah, a bit of blood in it.
Which makes me think of Jackson Pollock. I don't know if you guys know his work, but I heard that some of the paint he puts on the canvas is a teeny weeny tiny bit of his blood is mixed in the paint. And there has been a lot of other artists who have done this in the past.
And I read an old horror story based on that. Some artist there was trying to get his reds redder, so he started using his own blood. They got to the stage where at the end of it, he cut his guts open, threw his guts onto the artwork, and he still wasn't satisfied. You just can't. These artists, they're very funny types.
Well, it's nothing to. Well, it's a bit creepy that when I think about it.
It's creepy.
Yeah. So anyway, Morph starts freaking out, realizing they have just tapped into something from the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, and he said we got to get rid of these paintings. And now he said they're dangerous. We have to get rid of them.
Yeah, and his
words, not mine.
His word. This one came from the instructions from the actual artist to burn or destroy the paintings.
Yeah, exactly right.
And guess what? He doesn't do either.
Yeah,
he doesn't destroy the paintworks.
He packs his up.
He decides to stack them up and put them in storage somewhere. And the gallery owner, Redora and her assistant refuse to listen.
They think he's gone off his chops. Okay.
So
he's off with the pixies.
Yeah. So he tries to write an article that tells everyone that the artwork is haunted by an evil entity.
Yeah, the truth, but obviously that would actually destroy his career too.
Yes, true. Anyway, he ends up hiring Coco as to be his assistant while he's away.
To catalogue all the gear he's got in his lockup. Because I think he may have to get rid of one day when he's broke, when he destroys his career.
So he tells her this stuff, and she tells him some stuff of her own, where that his ex-lover, Eddie, who was his boyfriend, was letting slip on artwork he's been reviewing, and that made Rhoda to go out and buy this artwork. So she's been listening to his tidbits on what to buy and what to sell and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So...
Nice little creeps.
Yeah, practically backstabbing each other in the back, if you get my meaning.
Like a Roman forum, folks. Hey.
Yeah, so... let me see. Meanwhile, Josephine hears about the article. She's really angry at him, and she messaged him saying how much she hates him and all that stuff, and all that stuff. And Morph says he still loves her and all that stuff, but she still wants him to
leave,
to go to hell and all that stuff in those times.
Exactly.
Yeah. So she hangs up and she heads off to a bar with her new boyfriend of sorts.
Whatever name it is.
Yes,
now they have a bit of an argument.
Yes.
Somehow she wants him to stay with Redora's gallery.
Yeah. Somehow he's gone back to his old collector, and that means
street art guys.
Yeah. So he's gone back to them where he feels more comfortable.
Exactly. But real people who aren't going to screw you over. That's a good word, isn't it?
That's the right word
you
for it.
over.
Yeah, so she gets pissed, gets annoyed, and then she leaves. And unfortunately, her car is blocked by a number of cars at the bar they just attended.
Yeah, so she walks across the road to make a telephone call, getting accidental. And she's standing next to some graffiti on a wall, like big wall.
Yeah.
And she's making a telephone call, trying to get the other car towed away or something rather, so she can get her car out.
Yes. And she also so while she's doing this, the street art paintings behind the CGI way somehow CGI kind of turns into an art gallery.
Yeah, it morphs into an art gallery behind her. When she got back to the wall, and she walked over there, didn't notice the blank wall, obviously, too preoccupied. And when the camera sort of comes off the wall and goes around a circle and comes back, and all of a sudden you see the wall changing.
Yes.
And then she says, "Oh, I'm going to go inside and stand there out of the weather."
Yes, so she goes in.
Silly move.
Yeah, and she phones her boss and tells her about and asks her about that Deese wanted these paintings destroyed, yada yada yada, and if things were different, would they still destroy the work? And she says, "No way, he's an artist, yada yada yada," ignoring all the facts instead of looking at what just happened or what just occurred. So anyway, while this is happening, while Josephina is inside the artwork of sorts, somehow on the walls, the painting starts dripping, and starts sliding onto the ground, and then sliding up her body in a weird motion, like.
Like like paint's come to life. It's come down the wall, across the floor, up her legs, and up under her clothes, and she became a real painted lady.
And the paint went right into her eye, into the
and about that time,
and
there's a bit of it was a fade or a cut or something rather, or
and
to another scene, wasn't it? Yeah.
Meanwhile, Morph is actually already storing away all the art into his locker or whatever, and meanwhile, somehow another art piece comes to life.
It's a robot.
It's a hobo robot, whatever they call it, hobo man, I think.
Hobo robot, hobo robo, whatever.
Yeah. Well, anyway, this art piece he kind of rejected in a review, and thanks to him, the artist is displaying it in that storage locker thing, not being appreciated by actual art lovers.
So the art took revenge, didn't it?
Yeah. So it chases Morph down the corridor and snaps his neck.
What a way to go, folks.
Yeah, and that leaves us one last person.
Does that do a cut to Redora now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Redora, she nearly had a slight miss by being crushed by an actual sculpture.
In a backyard. Chasing a pussycat around the backyard.
Yes, and then the next morning she finds out that Josephina is missing.
Yeah.
And not on the phone or anything.
Yeah,
and Morph is gone.
Yeah.
He's been in this interesting scene, Coco goes to the locker and she goes there, and I would not say this word because I'm on
she
this
said a
podcast,
rude word
but
when she sees it. Her current boss is also croaked.
Yeah, and she says, "Oh,
fiddlesticks."
Yes. Meaning she's just lost another employee and all that.
She can't keep a job in the city, can she?
No. So back to Redora. I mean,
Josephina?
No. Josephina.
Her
car's being towed, and the driver there says that he hasn't seen hide nor hair of the owner. So he doesn't notice on the wall a watermark of Josephine on
the graffiti on the wall.
And this is where we've talked about it in an early podcast about how we would have loved it if she wasn't a watermark image in the scene.
I mean, if you're not paying much attention, you won't see the image of her amongst the graffiti. I think it should have been a little bit more pronounced. So I don't mean front layer type stuff, but if got something in front of her, but if she was more defined in the artwork, that would have come out a tad better.
Yeah.
But that's just my opinion.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know art, but I know what I like.
Thank you very much, Michelangelo. So anyway.
That's okay by you. Hey.
Yes. So anyway, it would have been great, and not to mention we hear in this scene a slight scream, like somehow she's probably stuck there, or we can't tell if she's dead or alive.
Like the Twilight Zone we mentioned before. Hey.
Yeah. So meanwhile, her boss is clearing out all the artwork, even stuff that's not Deese, out of her house.
Every piece of artwork has been taken out of her house and put into storage.
Art
so
books,
she has got nothing around her.
Yeah, nothing that may have an interesting design, interesting illustrations, anything you may think that will connect to itself to artwork.
So she thinks she's on top of things here.
Yes, kind of stupid, these people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the
Don't take on a ghost.
So the guys they drive off with all the stuff, and she sits alone in her backyard or whatever,
In the
and
garden and
she sits
meditating, thinking about what's going to go on now.
Yeah, and while she's doing this, we notice how it suddenly starts resembling an actual painting from Deese's work.
Yeah, a woman sitting on the ground with these two shadows, which in her place were two cacti.
And not to mention, this is relevant, that her cat is sitting beside her. That's pretty much the same cat in the painting.
Oh yeah, it was. I forgot about the cat. Yeah, but here's the trick. Redora used to be in a band called drumroll Velvet Buzzsaw.
And she has this tattoo on her neck.
Yeah, exactly.
Or shoulder, anyway.
No, I think it was on the bottom of the neck more so.
Yeah, bottom of the neck.
Because the next bit's really good because all of a sudden the buzzsaw comes to life and starts whirling around and cuts a hole through her neck. Yeah. What a way to go. That was a brilliant trick.
And she screams.
I'd scream too.
Yes, and I noticed that if there's any tattoo artists out there, they probably would know that tattoos to them are art.
It is art. Yeah, so it's not a bit of ink, it's art. And art does come to life.
Yes, and meanwhile, Coco's driving away in a taxi, meaning she's now heading towards the airport to go back to wherever she came from. Meaning she said earlier to Morph that if she didn't find another job in the artistic world, she'd be looking at going back home again to wherever she came from. So her last chance with Morph was gonna be shot to heck. So meanwhile, we see as she drives past, we see a homeless man selling those forgotten and Deese paintings that were stolen.
Yeah, when the guy had an accident in his pickup truck early in the movie. Well, these homeless people found them because I'd scavenge anything, and they're still on the street. I'll give you $5 or $10. Yeah. They could be worth $100,000 or something or other, but
more, are they?
And is the curse going to continue?
We don't know.
One will never know.
Yeah, and meanwhile,
opening for a sequel.
Yeah, and then we fade out and we watch Pierce, who's drawing happily on the sand, in circular motions of his own artwork.
Yeah, big circles and swirly lines and stuff. He's having a ball. I wonder if he's drunk at the time.
I don't think so.
No, he'd been off the alcohol and drugs and everything to clear his head, but he needed to unwind a bit. So like a couple of bourbons, whatever. Bit of Jack Daniels or something or other.
I don't think so.
Jimmy?
I think he was probably just recapturing something he may have forgotten, even something that could be just... Yes.
Yeah, that sounds good.
So anyway, that's roughly it for this movie, and as much as I would love to give it a few high praises, but I feel like we didn't get very much chances for the good guys in this movie. Like they didn't have very many stage presence in the movie.
Now, look, Sarah and I were talking when we first saw the movie some months ago and again last night, that this movie went for about an hour and 52 minutes or something. There's at least about 20 minutes of useless film footage in it that dragged on in the beginning trying to build a story around the individuals and whatever. It was so slow and building up. And when the death started, the first death took place and then it went flat again. There was no excitement. There was no nothing. There was no suspense. So it lacked something. And I'm not knocking the producers, not knocking the director. It could have been done a tad better. It was lacking that, wow, I didn't see that coming. Jump scares and other things. It was lacking things. It didn't have that atmosphere you're looking for in a suspense horror type. Oh, okay, maybe he didn't want to do it that way. I think he should have. Could have been a bit more animated that way.
Yeah.
It just lacked to me, 20 minutes too long.
Yeah, I thought so. And it did. I wouldn't mind if they just jumped into something that could give us a bit of a something to look forward to at the beginning. Not give us days of our lives in this movie at the beginning.
Pretty much like your soap opera at the beginning, and then nothing was happening for the first 1.5 hour.
Yeah.
And that was about the time when they found the dead body of the artist and things started to develop.
Yeah, I was watching this movie with
So,
my,
yeah.
as I said before, I was watching this movie with my sister last night.
And so you've never seen it before.
She never seen it before, just so you know. And she was bored, halfway
Yeah,
through.
so she felt that's pretty much the same way we did when we first saw the movie some months ago, and we didn't tell her, but she came over with the same general feeling. So
Yeah, I was very. I mean, I didn't want to pick at this movie. I mean, this is one of the reasons why I have a hard time, reviewing this one. I've been trying to find something good about it, but the only thing that was good about it was the deaths in this movie.
well, the deaths were look. The storyline was a good storyline. The way they brought the deaths into it were interesting, and it was in line story because the people died through art. Yeah, the guys dragged off in the monkey painting. One was killed by the sphere. Rodora was killed in the same way to look like an image that the guy had painted. The other guy was killed by the mechanical man. Everything had something to do with art. So that was good.
Yeah.
It had good continuity and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It just needed a bit of an injection of...
But you got to admit what we were discussing earlier about Coco. It would have been great if there was a scene where she's interrogated by the police and
something.
they try to figure out why is she the last person to see them and
something
is the
missing
first
there.
person to discover the body. It's so suspicious.
Even if it's only about 1 minute, it could have been something to help bring it to life. Say, hey,
like
this is not just
we'll give it a Nancy Drew, like she's the one who's starting to suspect something's wrong, and she starts piecing together the investigating this sort of thing. It would be something with a little bit of a hero angle would be great.
Yeah, hero, final girl, something or other. It's like reading Goldilocks' Three Bears.
Yeah,
it just didn't have something.
Yeah, it's like that. You want these heroes to survive, but at the same time, you don't see them thrive. You don't see them trying to fight the monsters. You see them walk like Coco just did. She just gets into a car and she heads off to the airport. We never see her again. And the viewers don't take much notice of her because she doesn't do anything.
But she was there for every boss she worked for died. You would think the police would have been knocking on the door and saying, where were you on that day, that day, and check your bank accounts and everything else.
Yeah, and not to mention she's going to the airport, which could mean, what if the police start suspecting her because she's, you know what they say about criminals, if they start leaving a scene of crime, there's something up.
Or plural, crimes.
Yeah, so you get to see, you kind of see a very most likely possibility that she might be,
she might be guilty of something. Or guilty of being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, and
but could have been elaborate. Right? That could have been expanded on.
Yeah, and there's Pierce, our nice artist, who's trying to recapture
great man, great actor.
His artistic flair, and he's been an interesting actor in my life these
they
years.
could have developed that
and
role.
It would be great if his character was a bit more developed.
Yeah.
Like maybe he could have been the hero in our story, something.
Well, they could have given him a bit more of a role. I mean, not because John Malkovich was doing it, but he was in the movie all the way through. But like the little man who wasn't there. Oh, hello, you're standing in the corner there. He's having looking at a piece of art. He's chatting to Rodora. But they could have developed his role to make it more substantial. He was there.
There was, behind the scenes, there was a reason he didn't make very many appearances, because he may have had another thing on, and he probably didn't want to stick around for everything.
No, well, maybe, but it would have been part of the script too.
I know.
Yeah,
I
I'm
just
just
meant.
saying that if they developed him, had more to give a bit more meat
Yeah, it's
for
just
that
that
role.
you know, in those movies, including mine, I had to juggle with characters, especially
Well, you
actors
did.
who may had another alternative thing they were doing at the time, and
Yeah. Well,
I try to be the best boss they
yeah,
could
well,
be.
you had to delete a scene or two of your filming because one of them wasn't available, didn't
Yeah,
you? Yeah.
I had to be the smart boss and try to think of a better way to work around this sort of
So
thing.
a slightly shorter film, but
Yeah.
doesn't mean less quality.
And have to do.
Anyway, let's get past John Malkovich now.
Yes.
That's what else?
And there's that street artist guy.
Yeah,
He
n-
left just after when things got sketchy.
yes, yeah.
Like he was already influenced by dear old Deese's artwork. Like he was really taken in, and there was even when he was in the gallery doing the exhibit with the Deese paintings. He wanted to leave. Maybe he was spooked by the paintings.
Well, I think you can actually feel something.
Yeah, like something negative.
Well, no, not negative, but like I said, I mean, before, an artist would put a lot of passion into a piece of artwork. And this guy put passion, blood, everything else, and he's mentally disturbed and whatever. Maybe he was picking up on the mental, spiritual side stuck inside the paintings.
Agreed.
Maybe, yeah, that sort of stuff. Yeah, all that passion and pain and
But he
mental anguish.
by the
and,
sound
yeah,
of it, he
yeah.
was spooked. Like
He's-
in that
he's-
in
I'm
that
going
scene.
back home where it's comfortable. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like he probably felt something that wasn't right. Maybe he.
This ain't right,
But
folks.
but we didn't. Again, as I said before, we didn't get into his character much,
No,
so we can't really estimate why he left the Josephine and all the gallery owner and said so long to making
Money?
his work to
Taking his work
to
to
the
the
next
world.
level.
Yeah, next level. Yeah, to the world, pretty much. But anyway,
yeah. Anyway,
that's two people could have been developed a tad better, and like I said, the movie could have been about 20
yeah.
minutes shorter.
I mean,
and
if there was something, I mean, the pretty much all those characters in this movie, the ones who had the camera more focused on them, I didn't really care for those characters. They were always greedy, money grubbing about them. Like they didn't care about what other people think. They didn't care
they
about.
cared about their purse and their
Yes.
wallet. How's that?
Yeah, and by the time by the end of this movie, and out gallery feels like, oh my gosh, all my friends are dead, and yet now that she's going to be next on the chopping block, so it's suddenly she fears the horrible ghost will start coming after her,
And so it should.
and not to mention Morph. He had this information at his fingertips. He could have just destroyed his half of the paintings and then leave it at that. But he didn't do that. I mean, he heard this information. What is wrong with these people?
Well, it makes a good story, yeah.
Yeah, but
Once upon a time, those three bears, they lived happily ever after. You need something happening in
a
the middle.
little bit of a closure is what I'm asking. Unless the director was not looking for a closure, he was looking for
A sequel.
A sequel. But you said it yourself, Mike, that a good closure is good. I mean, then if people then say, yes, I want a sequel, but if it's going to end like that, I don't feel I want to go.
Yeah, so yeah, well, who's that guy who did the last Star Wars movie we talked about him the other day?
Yeah, J.J. Abrams. I think.
Abrams. He said himself that he's not very good at writing the
I think
closing.
we've discussed this like 1,000
No, yeah, but I'm
times.
saying we're doing the same. It's relevant now. He said he couldn't write a good closing. Why didn't he get someone else to help him write the closing? Same thing here. I mean, I think it went a bit dead at the end.
Yeah, it kind
And
of.
like the beginning was dead, and the end was dead. Yeah, I would not be induced to watch a sequel by watching this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree that. I wish that they could have a lot of the past movies that did have a good closure, but you didn't. But at the same time, you hungered for more. Like by the
Yeah,
time
exactly right,
by the
yeah.
time the movie is ended, you feel a sigh of relief. But at the same time, you have a hunger to see a sequel.
Wow, yeah, that was great. Well, look, I got a lot of old movies. Now, take the original Psycho movie. That was done on a budget by Alfred Hitchcock. It was a hard job for him to do. He couldn't get backing by the studios. He wrote a good script. He directed it properly. He cut it properly right at the end. I won't go into it, but the closure on that had everyone going, "Ugh." Yeah, it's great.
It had a good closure, and it made people probably hunger for more.
Yeah, and I said, I didn't see that coming. That's weird. And yeah, you say, hey, if he makes a sequel or another movie, I'm going to go see it.
And this is where the second and third and the fourth and the second, third, fourth came into that.
Yeah, somebody else did it out of I would say possibly partly out of respect for the original project, but it was still 20 years later, was it, or something?
Yeah, say that many.
20 years later, and then suppose when he got out of it, Nuthouse, the guy in the Psycho, Norman Bates, when he came back to the house. So it's done 20 years later, and associated 20 years later, so it all worked in fine. But we're not talking about Psycho. We might do that one day.
But I just mean that a movie with, as I said in the past, movies with good closures make way for good sequels and stuff like that.
Or even just the next movie.
Yeah, exactly.
You're going to want to see this guy, person, lady, whatever. What can I do next?
Yeah.
You get excited.
I would have liked it better if a lot of people. I've looked at this interesting YouTube episode. I won't say where, but in one of their videos that was talking about script writing, gave me examples of how you can write a good script. One of them says, to write a good script, you have to start at the end. Like you have to work out how you want the all your characters to end in the story. Like you don't want to. Well, sure, you could probably start off at the beginning and work your way through, but the end does matter a lot.
It's your target.
It's your target. Like
it's not like going on holiday. I want to go to Rome for a holiday. How am I going to get there? Well, planning a holiday is the same way as writing a book. Now, I'm starting from point A, I'll go to point C, D, E, F, G, blah, 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 to get to point Z.
Yeah, and then there's that part about introducing your characters. You don't have to necessarily introduce them all in one scene.
And you don't want to see them all having cornflakes and having a cigarette at the dunny, that sort of, you don't need all this stuff.
Like in the beginning of Velvet Buzzsaw, they're all an art gallery thing, or some of them are, and it goes on for
too long.
Like 10 minutes or so.
It's
too long, and I don't care about Josephine and Morph's relationship too much.
A little bit would have been good, but too much. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Show there was a relationship, but don't dwell on it.
Yeah.
Do we need an ubiquitous sex scene?
And I didn't want to see Morph's boyfriend Eddie in his nudity.
Naked.
I didn't like it because I thought
it's irrelevant to the storyline.
It just was weird.
It was weird, but it was irrelevant to the storyline. And then that's what you put it in the storyline if it's relevant to the story. If not, don't put it in. Anyway, irrespective. We're waffling a bit now.
Yeah, sorry again.
No, both of us.
And
not just you.
I just for this podcast, it was probably much the hardest podcast, as I said in the past, because I didn't want to turn this into a troll hating episode in this podcast, because there's so much I don't really like about this movie, but I just don't want to make it sound like I'm gonna show it. I mean, I want you viewers to check it out and say,
make up
your own observation about it.
Sarah has a friend called Hayden. He's done a review on this as well, hasn't he? He thinks it's pretty good.
He hasn't made a review about it. He just told me that he likes it, and it's.
He likes it.
Yeah.
So it's a horses for course. Different people like different things. We feel it falls a bit short because it was boring in parts and run a bit too long. I'm gonna have to say 6.5-ish, 7 at the max. I mean, it was lacking a few things. It's still a good watch, but it was lacking in my eyes. How's that?
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, it's a little hard to figure out because 40 minutes of the beginning part was too long to even express.
Yeah, getting into the interesting bits.
So I'm going to have to say either 7.5
Ooh,
out of 10
you're
myself.
being generous.
Well, I would make it higher, but if it was a good storyline and stuff like and good choice of characters, I could probably make it higher.
Well, the actors did a good job.
The actors did a good job, but I just didn't like the fact there was too many bad guys. Like you have,
That's it. That's
like
probably
if
what
you
it was.
in a slasher movie, you have the final girl, you have the final guy, you have a nasty girl maybe, and a few guys who are a bit of a
Bit of cannon fodder.
cannon fodder, and it goes on from there. But it feels like everyone was a nasty person. The art gallery owner, the reviewer, the rival art gallery owner, and the art dealer.
Everyone
And the art assistant. There is no room for any good guy mixed in there.
Too good. You had Coco and Piers were, and the Demish, or whatever her name is.
And they're small characters. They don't have they're like co-extras.
They could have been a stronger good actor in it. Good role.
That's what I mean.
Anyway, I think that's about it.
That's about it, guys. I'm sorry this podcast can't be a very cheerful one.
No, it is good, but we can't have everything getting 9s and 10s all the time. Now, the reason is this is not a bad movie, but it could be better. But it's still worth a watch. I did like it purely for the way they integrated the death scenes into the art world in the style of their dying.
Yeah.
And that was a good plus.
Yeah, I even found out something interesting about the tone of the movie before we cut off.
Yeah.
It says the director decided on the visual tones that he would strike with his film about the modern art world. He looked at some of the horror genres, mostly classical works, to pull the ground elements and fantasy elements together. He explains that he wanted to construct a believable world inhabited with believable characters who are caught up in crazy events.
Well,
He also says he looked at Rosemary's Baby and The Exorcist and thought of how powerful it is when everything starts normal and real, only for the world to be flipped around with craziness.
Now, The Exorcist was a good movie. That kept you on the edge of your seat most of the way through the movie.
Yeah.
Not the first 15 minutes or so, but after you've got what's happening next, and that's what the movie should be.
Yeah. Question, Mike. How long when did it took place in The Exorcist when it started acting funny?
Look, it wasn't too far around. We got to start off happy, normal families, then they started hearing the odd bump in the night. They get the servant to go upstairs. There are no rats, or so on. So just little things were happening. So you had a little hallmark saying something's not quite right. It had this general feeling that something was just about to happen, and you're sitting there waiting, and then something did happen. Yeah, but it didn't happen after 40 minutes.
Yeah.
It didn't. Maybe after 20 minutes or 15 minutes or something.
That's, as I said in the past, guys. Under say 20 or 15 minutes is when you should start killing people, showing absolute creepiness mode.
Yeah, do something. Yeah, to make it interesting.
Nothing.
Otherwise, people are going to get.
Yeah.
If it's on the pictures,
if it's 40 minutes, you're losing audience.
You can actually walk out the door.
Yeah, or stop the movie and and start watching something else.
This went to Netflix.
Yes. So they could switch it off
They could turn it off. Go to bed.
Yeah, or at least go to if you're in bed sleeping watching this movie, you're not off.
Hey, it's a good sleeping pill.
Yes, so
that's a bit rude. I'm sorry to the producers and directors.
Yeah, I'm sorry too.
Yeah, I mean, not bad, but you didn't have the suspense, thriller aspect that a good horror. I don't care if it's satirical. I don't care if it's even a comedy horror. You still have to have something in there to stimulate the people's imagination, say what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
Hey, that was really funny, or that was spooky, or that was creepy. Didn't see that coming. You didn't have it.
As I often say and this is I've got this from a lot of movies. Some movies just usually cut to the chase in the old movies.
Yeah,
they
short
don't.
movie.
Yeah.
Just shorter.
Yeah, like if you look at Captain Kronos, way at the beginning, you see
Hammer movie.
Yes, it's a Hammer movie, and you see a bunch of girls just braiding their hair and talking about them, how pretty they looked, and then drama sets in, and
within the first couple of minutes,
someone's
being attacked by a vampire.
Yeah, so that was like
that gets the mood
that
going.
was like under 5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. You got it going.
Yeah, so that's
That
one.
sort of stuff. Yeah. Then you can go back and cruise for say another 5 or 10 minutes and get something else happening.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
and
but-
bring in a little bit of happy, contentive lives
yeah.
here and
Yeah,
nearly
pat the
there.
dog,
To
smell
pat
the flowers.
yeah,
yeah.
to pad out the story a bit.
Yeah.
It would not hurt.
Yeah, you don't do it all in 5 minutes, then there's no storyline.
Yeah, true. But you did say in this movie it should have been 1 hour and 30
Look,
minutes.
it's about an hour and 52 minutes. I reckon they could, if they dropped down to about an hour and a half, an hour and 30, drop off some of the superfluous stuff you didn't need, especially in the beginning. You didn't have to develop all the characters that much and have all this interaction to go, oh, look, there's a painting on the wall. Isn't that lovely? I think it's a sunset, George. What do you think, Mildred? No, you don't need that sort of stuff. You can have a little bit of it, but not a lot of it. It's sort of like years ago when people would go, I'll go on a holiday, and I took 1,000 slides. Let's have a slide night and I'll show you my holiday. And everyone goes, oh, no, I've got something better to do. Exactly, same thing. So you make it short. Okay, here's 2 or 3 pictures. That's us standing there under a palm tree. That's us in a restaurant. We had a great time. And people might actually look at them. Not 1,000 of them. Yeah.
Yes.
So anyway, we want to wrap it up now?
Yeah, we're ready to wrap it up. So, thanks for listening to this latest podcast episode. So, I'll talk to you guys later. So, this is Sarah Stephenson saying, "Ow."
And this is Mike. Bye.
See you around.
Bye now.